Hey, Michael with XForcePC, and what I'm working on today is I'm going to make a platform for my Volair cockpit to sit on so that I can roll it around and roll it out of the way or roll it to a trade show or what have you. It allows me to easily move it around. And if you have to go through doorways, maybe you have to take the side monitor off. Now, the size I chose for the platform here is 30 inches wide, and the reason for that is that's how wide the door is here at the store. And I chose 6 feet long, or 72 inches, because that's the longest length that will fit in my van. The Volair cockpit is something less than that, the footprint of it. And I'll try to give you kind of the exact dimensions of the Volair cockpit a little bit later, so you can know kind of what the minimum size is. And what I've done, I've taken this 3/4 inch plywood. So the supplies needed are a sheet of 3/4 inch plywood and 4 8-foot 2x4s. So what I've done here, I'm gonna try to lift this up while holding the camera, is I've attached 2 6-foot 2x4s, because I cut 2 feet off of them, to the bottom here. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put braces, see my hand, across this way, one on either end, and then I hadn't decided if I'm going to put 2 in the middle or just go with 1 down the middle, but just to basically, give it more support. And there'll be more later. Hey, Michael with XForcePC. So here is the bottom with the cross supports installed. I didn't try to make it an exact science. And I haven't even attached them on the bottom yet, so if they look a little crooked, that's because I haven't turned it over and put the screws on the bottom part or on the flat plywood side. So this is, of course, is the underside of the little sled thing I'm making. And I did drill pilot holes for the screws, just small pilot holes. That way I wouldn't split any of the wood because the wood's kind of dry. Okay, so here we go. I've got it flipped back over, but I've got all the screws in, and I don't know, I may add a couple of more. So underneath, if you remember, there's a 2x4 that runs all the way around the edge down here, all the way around. And then we have a 2x4 going across right here, and we have another 2x4 going across right here underneath, just for some extra support. And then the next thing we want to do is look at putting some casters or wheels on this thing, and then the last step will be to paint it in a satin black finish. Alright, so here we go. This is the underside. I've put on 3-inch casters. I just got these at Lowe's. Now the kind that are on the corners swing around like this, and then the ones in the middle are just straight. They only roll that way. But again, on all 4 corners we have the kind that spin around, and they do lock. And this has worked for me in the past, so hopefully this works well for me. You'll also notice that I had to add little pieces of 2x4 like right here, so that one of the screws would have been hanging out in midair if I had not. And on this middle one, 2 of the screws would have been hanging off, so I wanted those, to be nice and solid. So I just put little pieces of wood here to hold the casters on in the corners and in the middle. So more to come in a little bit. Okay, here it is turned over, and it does roll pretty well. It's nice and level, and I can also turn it, spin it around as I need to. And the one thing it does do is it does raise the Volair cockpit a bit, which is fine. But if you're going to put it in the back of a vehicle, you have to take that into account. Like for me, if I was going to take this to a trade show, I've got to take into account that I've just raised the height of the Volair cockpit about 6 inches, so that takes away 6 inches of my clearance. So most likely I'd have to drop the monitor, triple monitor stand all the way down, or I may even have to remove it. So the next thing to do is to put a coat of black paint on this thing and then see how it works with the Volair cockpit. Okay, so it's near the end of the day here, and in between answering phone calls and all that, I managed to get this whole sled done in a day quite easily. So as you see, my Volair Cockpit fits completely on here. The only thing you see hanging off there is the power cord. Sorry about the camera shaking. Not holding it in the best way. And I don't have my keyboard and mouse put back on there yet. If you come around here, you see I even have enough room to put the PC on the back. So this whole thing, the entire Volair Cockpit, is now 100% movable. So let's just move this thing around. I don't know if you can see this, but we're moving it all around the store right now. And I'm just using my hand on the back of the seat to drag it all around. And I apologize, I'm doing this with my cell phone. I left my memory card at home that I normally use, and I can't use my nice camcorder. So, I have everything on this one little sled. Now let's go over it again. I made it 30 inches wide, and as you see, it doesn't have to be 30 inches wide. It could be narrower than that. But I made it 30 inches wide because that's close to the maximum size of my door here. Okay? And the other thing I did was I made it 72 inches long, or 6 feet. And as you see, I could have easily shaved a foot off of that if I didn't want to include the PC on the sled along with the Volair Cockpit. So it's kind of up to you. You know, you have to think about your area and how you plan to use it. But the parts cost me very little. Let's see, I got the receipt right here. $100 is what I spent on the wood, the casters. You know, the biggest cost is probably the 3-inch casters. They were about $7 a piece, and so there were 4 of those, no, 6 of those, so that's $42, and then the rest was in wood.